Hello, world, and welcome to the Innovation Coaching Podcast. My name is Klaus Otto, and with me today I have Hatla Jonsson. Hatla, tell me how I can help.
Well, since you're good at innovating, you need to turn me into a new and better salesperson.
Oh,
How do I do sales? I'm good at communicating, and I'm good at getting ideas and getting people involved. But I've never tried being like a software seller. And right now, that's what I actually, as a CEO of a platform, that's what I do. So how do I become better at doing this?
ooh, interesting. So let's look at that for a moment. So first things first is, how do you sell right now? Walk me through what a sale could look like. Who do you sell? What are you selling? What's the process look like? Just where do we start here?
We're on a path to try and disrupt the learning industry. So instead of doing like complicated stuff with learning, like where do you go if you have a learning problem? If there's something you don't know how to do, you probably, like most of us, go to YouTube, you find a short, bite-sized video that as short as possible that will explain how to do something, and then you see that, and then you know what to do, and then you're done. Yeah, the only problem about YouTube is that it is owned by American media companies, and you sell your data, your customers' data. They live off commercials, so they try to sell as much as they can. So what we do is we do a white label platform instead, where you can make your own branded video learning platform. Add quiz questions to the video so you can verify that people actually saw the video and understood the questions, and maybe even get a badge if that's needed for your purpose.
Okay, so that's the what, which is really nice to know. Thank you. And for everybody out there listening, now you know where to go for your learning needs. It's not YouTube, it's Hetla. The second question is that walk me through a sale. Who do you sell this to? And what does that look like?
In order to keep this affordable, because one of the biggest problems in order to create a better world, we need to spread knowledge. And in order to keep the cost as low as possible, we really wanted to try and avoid having any salespeople. So the optimal way of doing onboarding on the platform is actually that you just go in, you get a free trial, and then you sign up by yourself. But the problem is that most people are not used to this for buying learning. So I have to talk to quite a lot of people about how to set up the platform and how they can use it for their purpose. And that is suddenly turning me into a salesperson, which is something I've never tried before.
Mhm. And give me an example of somebody who's bought from you. So you're not selling, you're a B2B, right? You're not selling to the individuals, you're selling to somebody who would like a white label learning platform, like a university or a bank who does skill training or something like that, right?
Yeah, a cybersecurity training company that needs, that is tired of saying the same thing over and over to customers. So they've turned it into video-based training, and now what happened was that we met her in a different process, and then she looked at us and said, "Okay, but what is it that you do?" And when she realized that if she could record the combination of a PowerPoint with her picture on it, explaining what to do, then she looked at us and said, "Okay, this is brilliant. That means that I'll save I don't know how many number of hours explaining the same thing over and over again, and then instead I can focus on doing the add-on things. If there are specific questions related to the her customers' situation." Instead of onboarding them, individually each time.
Sure. Okay, so I get that. And how is it different from some of the other platforms out there, like Udemy or Skillshare or things that are more general and sell education as a platform? But I know how it's different from YouTube, but how is it different from some of the other options out there?
Udemy is like a market platform. So it means that your courses is next to everybody else. With Uqualio, what you do is you make your own platform with only your content. And that means that all the data on the platform is yours. So, you own all data without any exception, and can control what is played and how it's played. And then you can, of course, also monetize courses like you can with Udemy. But that's not what we primarily do. Is actually a hybrid between a internal learning management system, and an external customer education platform.
Sure. Okay. So now I think I have a pretty good feeling for what it is and where does it go wrong, or where is it challenging? What are you talking to the wrong people? Are they not interested in, is the price wrong? Is the product too hard for them to understand? Is it where, why are you not already rich and famous and the world is better?
I think part of it is that I think there are more steps in it, but one of the things is that even though we're an easy to use platform, I think it still takes a little bit of time to understand how you can work with the videos. And this what we've tried to do is build in video tutorials, but the video tutorials, the problem is making people sit down for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, actually seeing a couple of videos to try and understand how it can help them. So very often that's why it ends up being, a conversation instead, because they have all these questions they want to ask, which totally makes sense. But on the other hand, it would be easier if they just went in, saw the video, and this is how it do it. Okay, I'll just set it up like this. That then they could also do it at their time instead of having to wait for me. And that's what we're experiencing is that from the time when they see us until the time they sign up can take months because they kind of have to decide to do the video. They have to figure out how to make them themselves, and to figure out whether this is the right platform, even though we encourage them to just take a short bite-sized any video that you record with your phone, send it out, see if it works. Then it's a massive decision for them.
Got it. And what questions do they ask when you have these meetings with them? Because I'm sure some of the questions are unique, but some of them are repeat questions.
It's very often, can I limit who sees the videos? And of course you can. You can make public courses for anyone to see, or you can make community kind of courses or protected courses where you have to be logged into the platform to see it. And you can make private courses that you send by email or SMS. So in that sense, that's one of the questions. And then they have another question related to uh so how do I design it? How do I do it? But it's like it's relatively easy because there are these small tutorials, so I can easily walk them through it. But I mean, it almost takes them the same time if they do it themselves.
Okay. So when you talk to people, and let's use a recipe as an example here. Let's say that you ask me, Klaus, how do I make spaghetti carbonara?
Yes.
Imagine a world where you would want to know how to make spaghetti carbonara, and you ask me because I sell spaghetti carbonara recipes. And I say, well, spaghetti carbonara is this interesting dish. It's from Italy, and you can put garlic in it, and you can use wheat pasta, and you can use whole grain pasta, and you don't have to do that. You could also do it with some eggs. And suddenly I'm saying things that are true, right? I'm giving you the complete picture,
Hmm.
where what you're looking for is to make pasta carbonara, you need bacon, eggs, cream, spaghetti. Boom. And then you say, oh, but could I also use garlic? Yes, you can use garlic. Could I use whole grain pasta? Yes, you can use whole grain pasta. But if I say, here's how it's done, and then you ask, can we also do this? That is very different from me saying, so to make a spaghetti carbonara, you first have to choose what kind of pasta are you using. You can use durum wheat. You can use whatever flour. You can mix it with all these things that are true, but it suddenly complicates it
True.
because they're relevant for later. But right now, I just need it to have 4 ingredients and very simple. And then later I can get all the other stuff. And does it have a little bit of basil? And do you use oil for cooking the thing? Or all this sort of questions where recipes are actually pretty complex if you look at variations and options. And a lot of people, when they're selling software, they try to sell it not just as the recipe, but as the option of recipes.
Hmm. Makes sense.
And before you start experimenting with your pasta carbonara, you would like to know how to make it. You don't want to know, oh, it can also be this, or it could be this, and it could be served with this. Options, options, options. You want one thing that's simple. So if I was going to sell your product, if you brought me on board, like as an extra sales guy for a week, I'd take these meetings with these people and I'd say, are you looking for an internal learning platform, like an internal YouTube that you control, except there's interactive elements where you can quiz people halfway through. That's what we do, right? We do internal YouTube style training videos, and we put in quizzes so you can check if they've actually seen them. That's what we do. And the reality is we do much more than that. We could also do public. We could do semi-public. We could do different packages. We could link it to certificate. We could do all these sorts of things. But for most of the people, as you said, they're asking, can I have it secret? Right? And if most people are asking, can I control who watches it? It's because they're not looking for public, they're looking for private. So if you're now selling private, you could basically say, we sell private or public, or we sell private with an option for public, or we sell public with an option for private, or we sell public, or we sell private, and then afterward you say with the option for something else, right? It's how you order the information.
Makes sense.
That if you say we create internal learning environments that are video and quiz based, and you control completely who watches them and what's in them, and the deal is to make them short and have quiz elements to make them slightly interactive so you can see that people actually watch them, and so people have an incentive to watch them because there's kind of micro tests along the way. That's what we do. Does that interest you? Yes or no? Where if instead you say we do public and we do private and we do quiz and we do long, you're now giving them more opportunity and more possibility, but they don't want that yet. They may want that later, but right now they want what they need and just one thing, right?
True.
And I'm guessing that part of the tricky thing is that you're trying to explain so they can make an informed decision. So you're giving them options. You're giving them the menu.
Yeah, definitely.
Since they're not used to that menu, if you go into a pizzeria and there's a number 16 with extra cheese, and there's a number 18, and there's a number 24, and there's a lasagna, and you're used to all these choices, so it doesn't cause problems that they have 98 different things you can buy. Because you're used to that. You've been in a pizzeria before, you've eaten pizza before, you have a feeling that, yes, okay, lasagna isn't pizza, but it's okay to sell that at the same restaurant. Where when you go into a Vietnamese restaurant where they don't have any translations and you don't understand, you can have the pho bin pak and the dak quang binh, and none of these are made up, or none of these are real. They're just made up names. You have no idea what's going on. And then you go for curry with rice because that's at least words you understand. And the bigger the menu, the more complex it is, and the more stuff you do. Okay, that I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that was. And then you go for the stuff you understand.
Spring roll.
Where if they came in and said, are you new to imagine you go into a restaurant and it said, are you new to Vietnamese food? Then we recommend either the red curry with duck or the vegetable dish with the vegetarian vegetable dish, or the sweet and sour sauce thingy with prawns. If you want the more advanced stuff, look on the next page, and then there's our full menu. It's a very different situation, right? You're not taking away what you can do, but you're respecting the fact that you don't want to overwhelm them. In fact, you're okay with them saying, okay, but can it do more? Because your problem is mostly they don't know what's going on.
Agreed.
Because they're not used to it, right? They understand YouTube. And if you say it's like private YouTube where you control who watches it and it had quizzes, do you want that? Okay, yeah, we want that. And then suddenly their decision is, okay, do we want a private YouTube universe with training videos with quizzes embedded to make sure that the training is more interesting and we can track it? Yes, we want that. And then they can ask questions like, oh, can it also be public, or can we have certifications? But you don't need to tell them already, because they're the ones who will ask those questions. And you're going to lose some people. You're going to lose some people who will then say, oh, well, we thought they could do certifications, or we need something and she didn't say that, so we are not getting that. You're going to lose people. But I'm pretty sure you're going to have an easier time with the people you don't lose, because they're now, oh yeah, that's what we want, instead of, oh, it can do all these things.
It totally makes sense. Then we have a problem, because the problem is when I meet people, that's exactly what I say is listen, this works a little bit like a private YouTube, and then you add quiz questions to verify that people saw the video and understood the content. And then everybody understands. But the problem is we can't write that on the website, because YouTube doesn't really like you to write stuff about them on websites. And we know because we thought we were changing names about a year ago, and we got a trademark on the name in all of Europe. And then we got a really nice and polite letter from Google Alphabet saying that, guys, this is not a good name. It's too close to us. So would you please, maybe you should just give up your trademark.
That must have been a nice day at the office.
No.
No, no.
We had just used a year to prepare, and we filed the applications and everything else.
And that's tricky, right? So, but let's take that for a moment, because if you say they understand that, then you're saying, what if you had a private library of training videos, and each training video was a very short one, and there are quizzes embedded into the video, so that when people can watch it, not only are they watching, they're part of the way they kind of get stopped and have to answer a short quiz, both because then it's interactive and we know that's good for learning, and also so it's a good way to track, did they actually understand what's going on? Doesn't that sound nice? We do that, right?
Yeah, true. It reinforces the memory.
Yes.
When you have to recall the information from the video, that it actually stimulates the memory. That's why we do it.
Yes. So you also have the scientific data to back that. I can't remember how much more effective, but it is more effective to do it this way, which of course why you do it. So what you're selling is not YouTube, because you can't do that. You're selling a private video library of training videos. And then if somebody says, hey, we'd like it public, or we'd like to all these things, yeah, sure, you can do that, but that's not the default. And one of the hard things when selling anything is the temptation to want to sell everything you can, where the reality is when we're buying, we want to buy the very specific.
That totally makes sense.
And again, I use pizzerias as an example all the time, that if you go into a pizzeria and they have two pizzas, right? There's with cheese and pepperoni. Then you might leave because that's not what you're looking for. Or you might say, could you do one with anchovies as well? And then maybe they say yes, maybe they say no. But if you come in and you say, hey, can I have a pizza, or can I have the menu? And they go consultant on you and they say, but what would you want this pizza to accomplish? What does food even mean to you? Then you're out of there, because you don't want a discussion, you just want a pizza.
Mm.
And on the other hand, if you have a chef show up at your doorstep and then you say, well, I'd like some food, then maybe it's nice to have a discussion about, why did you hire a private chef? What do you want to do with this event? What sort of food are we looking? Then it's a more co-created thing, right? Because then there's not just picking off the shelf, there's actually a discussion. And part of the tricky thing with selling platforms is that on one hand, you want a platform because then you can just make it do what you need it to do without a lot of fuss. And on the other hand, you maybe need to have some discussions, but you don't want discussions you don't want. And that sounds silly, but it's also very true, that if I'm looking for some software to do something, I'm looking for software that does exactly what I want it to, or something close. And when somebody says, oh, just book a call with us, we can talk about your requirements, I say, no, stop. I want this. And it's pretty often that I don't know what I want until I see it. So if you mainly deal with that sort of customer, I'm guessing you do, then be very clear on what it is. And then if they want a variation or something like that, then it's their problem to talk with you, because the more you spread it out, the more you give them all the options, the harder it is for them. The easier it is for you not to lose anybody because of scope or opportunity, but you're losing them because of complexity.
Yeah, they misunderstand the simplicity of it.
Yes. And you can even say, and we even help you produce the videos. And if you want the discounted version, you can produce the videos yourself, and that makes it cheaper.
We've integrated with Synthesia, so if you want synthetic videos, you feel free to sign up with them.
Also an option, right? But the whole, it's a matter of defaults, and it's a matter of what are you putting in front of them that they need to decide upon, and what is an add-on and what is an add-on that you're telling them about. And my advice here is that if you can keep it super simple, and if you have these discussions again and again, then take the things they're talking about and make that simply part of the package. If they always ask, or many of them ask, can it be private? Well, then private is part of the solution, and then public or semi-public, that's an add-on or that's an option. Instead of saying, here are two options, saying we do private, and then when they ask, there's an option. So that's one thing, is how do you position it? The second is, how do you pay for it? Let's say I have a company, I used to have one, so we could have done training videos internally. That would have been smart. So I might have bought into this some years back. How do I pay?
Credit card. Add your credit card. You pay as you go.
But if I'm the company, if I have a company, I have 50 people, I'm creating some customer service training videos. How do I pay you for that platform? Or like, what does that look like for me? Because I'm now producing videos. I want my own people to take them. I'm not selling education. I'm doing education in a closed space. So your platform is perfect. How do I pay for it?
You add your credit card and then you sign up for the number of private users you need. So $2 per person per month.
Got it. Okay, so I pay $2 per person per month.
Yes.
Okay, pretty nice. And do you get any pushback on that price?
Actually, we're getting a little bit pushback that it's too affordable. And so it's from the startups and the early stage, they think that it's still expensive. You know, the bigger ones think that it's too cheap. So they're like in between saying that maybe this sucks since it's cheap. And this is one of the places where we're working with branding, trying to explain that it's not because we suck that we do this. It is actually because we need people to share knowledge. So Applied Information is one of our customers in the US, and they do intelligent traffic light. And they need to, to train municipality people in how they set up their systems, and they've done this as courses. But then they also need to train police officers and ambulance and emergency vehicle drivers in how to use the system, because every time they use the system correctly, they save 60 seconds on average on every emergency call.
Nice.
But in order to do this, they need the training.
Yes.
And so how they so they scale according to how many customers they have monthly, they end users they have monthly, and then parts of it is made public. And if you have a public course, it's actually free of charge when you've made the basic subscription. And that's simply because we're here competing with YouTube, and in order to make sure that it's non-competable, then that is actually donated to increase and make the world better.
Okay, very, very nice. There is a guy, an old friend of mine, Ulrich Leersko-Schmidt. If you haven't already heard of him, then
I know him.
you know him even better. His stuff on software as a service pricing, he has a ton of videos, and he's brilliant. He's one of the best people at this in the world. And if you're not already following that, take a look. And for anybody out there listening in, Ulrich Leersko-Schmidt, if you're doing software as a service, then his pricing strategies and tips are very much worth diving into. Excellent value for money, especially the free ones, which are insane value for no money. So just a piece of advice on checking on some of that, because one of the things he talks about is especially that if you're pricing using the same model and metrics for big, small, and medium customers, then one of them is going to feel that the model is perfect, one will feel it's terrible, and the other will feel that it's way too cheap.
Exactly.
And instead of falling into that trap, then have individual models for the individual types of customer.
And we're actually right now doing a new pricing strategy because we're also adding AI features, so you can get like everybody else. But I mean, why would we want to sit and do quiz questions when you can add the transcript of any video and then auto generate quiz questions to verify that people saw it? So you can speed up the system, and once you have the transcript, you can make automated captions. And so that will be one new package that we're offering. And then the second package will be, well, we can take that transcript, and if your Czech is not very good or your Chinese, then auto translate, and then suddenly the captions are in Chinese or Czech or whatever, and so is the questions. And that means that the badge given is actually probably better than if somebody tried to understand an English video that they couldn't understand. And then later on, we'll be able to add the synthetic speech on top of the video as well. So you can change the entire course from English to, around 100 different languages from all over the world.
Very smart. And so one thing we've talked about a little bit is that they're a little bit in doubt about what it is, but it sounds like you're actually pretty good at explaining that. And then they have all these questions. And here we've a little bit covered that if you figure out what questions you get most of and just change them to the default, you're going to change those conversations. What I have some ideas here, but I could be wrong. So I'll ask you instead, what stops them? Like once they understand this is what the product is, this is what the platform does, what stops them from saying yes immediately if they have the need, right? Let's say they're that bank that needs to upskill a lot of employees and they like to have a training universe and they think video training is great. What stops them then? Because it's definitely not the price.
In the early days, we used quite a lot of time trying to convince people that video was a good idea. And now we've realized that who we're targeting is people who automatically makes video. Because trying to convince people who's never made a video in their entire life and doesn't like hearing their own voice on video, or doesn't even know how to start a video camera on their phone, I mean, it's a long way to try to teach them how to do video training. So right now what we're doing is very much targeting people that already thinks that they know how to do video.
Interesting, because my guess would be that a lot of people are stopped by exactly that, okay, now they have the platform, they see the idea, but they lack the in-house capability of actually producing good training videos. So even if they would like that, and they think the platform is affordable, they simply don't know how to produce quality content in-house with the people they have. Is that something you run into, or is that just my prejudice?
Nope, that's right. And we've tried to come across it in several ways by building in a screencasting system so that you can record your PowerPoint and voice just by on the system running it through. We've done it by making a small course in how you use your smartphone for video recording and how you do a small script and how you do the main key learning objectives, how you film it. We've also integrated with Synthesia, Colossian Creator, and Eli.io that makes it possible for you to add a text and choose an avatar, and then the avatar will do all the video parts. But it is a problem for those that you know have never tried it before.
So, do you at the moment offer a service or part of a package where if I come in with my company and I'd like some training and I'd like to produce that training and I like the idea of video training because it's not just for 4 people, it's for 400 or 4,000, whatever that means, but I'm not comfortable with doing it myself because I simply don't know how to create trainings, but I'd do it if somebody could hold my hand and do it with me. I'd love to, I have the expertise, but I don't have the expertise in producing training videos. And I know that you have these excellent integrations and these kind of, here are these good tools. But what I'm guessing is that some of these people, if not a large part of them, the tools won't help because what they need is a human to say, let's create this training together. You have expertise. I know how to create trainings, and that is cheap enough that it's part of the service or at least part of a package instead of you needing to go out and find a film crew and find a learning designer and where do you even find these people? Do you have something like that already?
We have a service provider platform. Our biggest problem is that we're even though we're relatively small, we've gone global from start. So it is very, very difficult for us to help people everywhere. I mean, if people they're in Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa, Thailand, India, Europe, Canada, and the US, and in Southern America. So the problem is that we don't have service providers that we can lead them to everywhere. But we do have a couple around, and we're still working on finding more that can help. But one of the things that they scared ridiculously of is that most of these video guys they start at a price that is outrageous, and most people want to test it out before they do anything. So that's why we've been actually focusing on trying to make courses for people in how do you just record it with your phone.
I understand that. Okay, but that means that my thinking, there's something to it because it means that there might be a sweet spot there. Because if you're a video production company, or let's even say you're a learning course production company, which are rare, but they exist. Let's say you're one of these people and somebody comes to you again, it's this bank, and they want to create skill training for some of their processes and customer service and things that they need to run a lot of people through. So they think video training would be really smart. And they're willing to spend some money on creating those trainings, but they don't have anyone in-house who just picks up a camera and just films it and it's brilliant. So they're looking for an outside partner. And you're saying that the outside partners, most of them start at a way too high price point for these people, which is understandable, because if you're the video production company, once you've created the videos with these people, then you're done. So you want to suck out as much value as possible, and you don't want to waste your time, because once you've done it, then you stop getting money. Now, if I was somebody smart who had like a platform with recurring revenue and was looking for people to put their content on the platform and sell that white label solution, maybe, just maybe, I'd find some learning designer and say, how do you feel about getting paid 30% or 15 or 68 or whatever percent of the courses that you develop with this client? So we're not paying you, but you're getting part of what the client is paying.
We have a partner structure where we're finding people around the world, but the problem is finding people with the right quality. Like just yesterday, I had a conversation with a guy from Nigeria, but it's a little bit hard for me to know. He's also in real estate, and he has a film studio where he helps people do the filming of the houses and everything else. And that's why he kind of thought that it would be interesting to move into this area as a complementary field. But the problem is for us to figure out. I mean, if you call me and you say, okay, I'm in Nigeria, and I have an idea that I would like to set up a platform, then the problem is I don't know these people, so I have no clue whether I'm recommending somebody who's good or bad. And I don't intend to go to Nigeria to test it out.
Yeah, no, I understand. Let's see if we can crack that nut, because why do they need to be Nigerian? Right. So our case here, our fictional case, it's a Nigerian bank. Nigerian bank, Nigeria's economy is booming. Of course, the banks are booming. Of course, they're recruiting. Of course, they need skill training. This is a very realistic scenario, right? Hugely growing economy in Africa, population growth, blah, blah, blah. And the Nigerian bank would like to have these in-house training videos because they need to have in-house training, and they think video training is great, but they don't have anyone to do the production. And I'm suggesting that if they ally themselves with a proper learning designer who doesn't just know the learning stuff, but also can help them go from loose conversation to finished videos that are uploaded, that learning designer, why does that person need to be in Nigeria?
That's a good point. The problem is that it's difficult. The design part is easy to do distant, but the holding the camera out there is difficult without being closer to them. So depending on if it's only PowerPoint recording or something else, that's easy. But if it's, how to get into the buildings, how to turn on the coffee machine and other things, you kind of need to be next to the coffee machine to record it.
Well, yes, or somebody needs to.
True.
So let's say that right now the audience can't see us because this is coming out in audio format, but Hatla and I are on a Zoom call, so we can see each other. And there's nothing that stops us from taking the Zoom call and pointing our cameras left and right. And if we planned it the right way, right? I'm standing in my home office, you're probably sitting at a desk somewhere, but if we planned it right, there's nothing that would have stopped you from taking this call on your phone, from having this conversation on your phone. And that meant that suddenly you're mobile and you have the possibility to record. So if we, instead of having a coaching conversation, we'd said, let's record a how do you get into the building video? How do you access the areas of the building, and how do you do the security protocols, etc. And the way we're doing it is that we're basically on a Zoom call that I'm guiding. I'm the learning designer here. So I'm bringing all the expertise. You are my hands and my camera and my microphone, and you're walking around exactly. You're walking around like my mobile camera, and I'm guiding you. And we've together sat down and talked about what does the learning video need to do, because I don't know that. I'm sitting in Copenhagen, you're in Nigeria. And you're saying, well, we need to show people how to get in the doors and how to use the security systems and be aware of the fire escapes and all this sort of training, so we don't have to have a person show it, but we can have it shown as a video. I say, great, so let's do this where we do this as a Zoom meeting and we're recording that Zoom meeting, and I'm telling you what to say, and then you do it. I'm telling you what to show, I'm telling you what to say, and then we do it. And at the end of the thing, I take that recording and I run it through my video editing guy, who's of course part of my team, and then out comes a beautiful 6 minute or 3 minute or 24 minute or whatever it is video that can be chopped up into nice bite-sized pieces with some quizzes embedded. And I've never been to Nigeria. I don't understand Nigeria. I don't even, I'm just the learning designer equipped with a local partner who understands the problem, but I'm just guiding them along the way. So they don't have to get up and say, oh, well, here's what we film and here's what we talk about and here's how we edit, because that's easy if you know, but it's very hard if you don't. So I'm their guide, their angel on the shoulder, and they're doing the work, but I'm telling them every step of the way. And suddenly it doesn't seem so hard, right?
But that part would totally make sense to try out. What we're in the process of doing is actually we have the scripts and everything else. We need to record it, but we have like an animated video that explains how you what you have to think about when you do the recording, and how you make the small script, etc. But that's an animation video. And what we actually wanted to do was because right now you're just instructing people in phone, and that's the beauty of video training is actually that I can record that so you can learn how to do it. So by now I show you the first video. So first you sit down and you think about your learning objective, class 1 or video topic 1. Here is a template you can fill out with what is it you need to learn, what is the main objective they need to take away. So in each video topic, you can only have maximum 2 key learnings, because people need to, reinforce the memory after each thing they've learned. So now you have a script. So now you go out there and you imagine that or actually bring a colleague, and then you make sure that you explain to that colleague what it is they need to do, how is the bring your own device policy for this office, or where are the alarm cameras, or whatever it is that you need to train people in. And then by you showing the person what it is, the steps from the sequence in your script, then you take people through them. So we actually end up auto-generating a small course that will take you exact through how you record it. And we'll also, make a small video about when you do the recording, make sure the light is proper, and do listen to the video if there's too much, or maybe get a small extra, one of these small microphones so that the voice is clear. But these very, very small tips and tricks that doesn't cost anything, and that enables you to make super video in seconds.
And I love that. I love that. I think, though, I could be wrong, but I think, and it's easy to test, I think there is a step before that. I think all this is good, but I think there's a step before that. And I think that step is kind of a halfway step, because it's between, hey, I like this idea, I'd like to have video recordings, I'd like to have this sort of thing happen, this universe of learning, and I start watching all these tutorial videos and doing it. Because I think that if you took this, my fictional learning designer, it could be somebody who isn't even particularly skilled at it, who just has learned how to do one thing, and then on a what's essentially a sales call, let's say it's a 45-minute sales call, you will, or that person will, with the customer, with the prospective client, create a learning video with them. Because once they've seen it done, right? Once they've gone from, hello, I want to do it, and then they can ask questions and they can be done. And of course, they could do that on their own. They could watch the videos and they could do that on their own. But there's a huge difference between having somebody human, or in 5 years, it's going to be an AI that feels human. But for now, somebody human on the line that you can talk to and ask questions and be in doubt about, walking you through a process, even if that process is, now you click there, now you do this, now you stand in front of the doorway. And having that, I think, will be a super powerful onboarding step for them to then feel, okay, I did it with a human. Now I'm prepared to watch onboarding videos. Now I'm prepared to watch tutorials and do it myself. Now I don't need the salesperson, but I think you're going to have a much easier time getting over that bump if the first contact is human.
Yeah.
Not because you can't automate it, but because what people are looking at the first time isn't the efficient automation they can do themselves necessarily. Some are, but a lot of them are looking for a person. Right? It's the difference between you go to some sort of customer service site and you get a chatbot. And most of us want to talk to a human, or at least write with a human, because we are somehow, and maybe that's going to change, or probably it will change, but we'd like to have some sort of connection, somebody where we're not afraid of what can I write or what can it do, or because we're used to human interaction, because all of us have had thousands of human. And I know that since you're selling a video platform, it makes sense to automate this stuff. But I think that for your customers, a lot of them will be much easier to get on board if you handhold them a little bit longer to begin with.
That's actually why we've been, because I totally agree with you, and we know that. And that's one of the things I hate the most is you buy Canva, but you have questions and there's nobody you can ask. There is like you pay for a service and it's like, okay, I don't give a shit about you. You know, you're on your own, whatever, fix it yourself. Go in and Google, do something, try and find you know, that's not my problem, which is like not really a very nice way of treating people. So that's why we've actually tried to make, I call it humanized digital tutorials. So actually all our tutorials is done by me. And you know, the step overview, you see me while I explain. So you know that it's me sitting there. I'm actually physically there and we're on a chat function in the side. So you can just reach out to us if you have any problems. Because I believe that we need to be, you know, you cannot, it's rude to sell something that where there's no service whatsoever towards the people, where you have quite a lot of software. It is definitely true that the owners and the ones that created it has never tried running through the process because it doesn't work. They would know if they had tried it. So that's why we run through it with this, you know, attitude that, you know, we know that it works. We have been through it, and I'm able to explain it to you and to everybody else in detail also, you know, how you set it up. But the thing about if we need to onboard everybody, then we still need to increase prices on what we do, because the thing is that, I mean, if people pay $20 per month and they now have an hour's onboarding to even get started, then you know you're in a wrong position, because that is, you know, that it'll take a year before we've earned in that amount. So that's trying to, yeah, we need to find a balance between how that works.
Yes, and that also maybe means that you need to figure out who are your customers,
Mm.
because I do a lot of consulting work, right? And as a consultant, one of the really nice things is that sometimes you get to do stuff that's interesting and with interesting people, and maybe you even change the world a little, and you get paid decently. That's the nice part. The non-nice part is that the amount of pre-meetings and let's discuss, and can you send me a proposal, and can you edit that, and can we have another meeting, and let's have a loose talk, is sometimes very, very long. And there's a lot of quote unquote free work before you even get to the part where anybody is paying you. Now, the nice part is once you get there, then it's usually worth it because that's included in the price and everybody knows that. Where if you are a taxi driver, the moment somebody gets into your car, you press the meter and the meter starts running. And that means that most taxi drivers don't do that much free work. They have time where they're driving around waiting for customers. That's, of course, to a certain extent, free work. They're waiting for maybe a central to call them or pick up people off the street, but they're not having conversations with clients. The clients doesn't just get in and say, okay, so how is this taxi, and tell me about your business and what sort of engine. And it's like they get in and the taxi driver asks, where do you want to go? And then both parties know now the meter starts. Where one of the tricky things, and you just hit that on the nail, is when do you start the meter? Because if you're selling customers where once they're beyond that first kind of 1, 2, 3 hour onboarding stage that requires you or some of your team, well, if then they bring in $20 a month, then agree, then that's not a good place. But if the ones you're selling to are all have minimum 1,000 users, so every one of these is $20,000 a month and it's recurring revenue, then you can have a lot of these onboarding things. And I think that it is tempting to want to treat the one person as Amazon, but you can't.
One of the things that we've been talking about doing is actually making a differentiated pricing model so that up until, for instance, 250 users, pay as you go, or to some number, I don't know what, but that it's and then above that, it's an enterprise model where you have to talk to us because we know that if you're bigger, you will need help along the way. But so we simply differentiate through how big a platform are you getting? When do we offer our personalized sales efforts, and when don't we?
Bingo. And then you also have the advantage that one of them is that if let's assume that you're working primarily with some of the kind of semi-big players, not the huge ones, but with the semi-big ones where every customer brings in a decent amount of revenue. Like the minimum a couple of thousands of dollars per month that's just ongoing and it doesn't need a lot of help once it's there.
Mm-hmm.
If you do that, then all those tiny ones that bring in 20 or 50 or 100, you can probably even shift them from being paid to being free, but with minimal support.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're not really, they're just drops of water in the big bucket.
Yeah, true.
Right? Where if you have, say you have 5 big clients and then you have 100 tiny ones, then the 100 tiny are going to pay 20% of one of the big ones. But they're going to give you a ton of headache because they're paying, and for them it's a lot of money. Where if you say, you guys, up until a certain amount, you get it for free, but you don't get support, you don't get help, you don't get all these things. If you want, then you can come in at the silver, bronze, extra hero, whatever level.
But one of the things we can easily donate the platform for free. That's not a problem. The problem is that we need an identifier on people, so we still need them to add credit cards and other things. And secondly, we actually used to donate the platform for NGOs for free, but what we're seeing is that people, they take a long time to adopt things. They don't start sharing. So we've donated for something that's not happening. So right now we've actually decided that you can get it at 80% off the price, but you need to pay the 20% of the original price because we want to see you start using it. The whole idea about making a learning platform is sharing good ideas. And if you have a platform that you're not using, then you're not spreading ideas and making sure that the world gets better. And that's what we're aiming for.
And you've just hit upon a pretty relevant thing, which will be the last thing before we round off, is that the temptation to think, here's something brilliant, let's give it to the world for free because we want to reach the most people. That's not as easy as it sounds, especially when you're up against other people who are doing exactly that and are doing it very well, like YouTube, right? So maybe the very, very cheap is not the way to actually have the biggest impact in this space. Also, because it would, one, give you the opportunity to have some money for that human onboarding, which I still think might be a factor, at least for some time to come. And two, it would mean that if people have paid for something, there's a better chance they'll use it instead of you spending a lot of energy on things that aren't used, as you said, with the nonprofits.
Mm-hmm.
Food for thought, at least. Now, Hella, we could easily continue this for longer, and thanks for bringing it to me. But time is slowly running out, and we want to keep these episodes at a reasonable length for the people in the cars or walking the dogs or wherever they are out there listening. First, I want to say thank you for bringing this to me and not just sharing it with me, but also with the world. That takes courage, and thank you for that. Thank you for helping inspiring some people who get to listen in on our conversation. And the second is I want you to think for a moment and share 3 things that you take away from our talk here together. They can be positive or negative, but three takeaways.
Definitely simplifying. Making it less complicated in the start is definitely something we also need to do on the website because, as you said, it is the simple story that makes it easy to understand. And we've actually had a couple of people call us back and say, I don't get it. You told us this was super simple, and now I got to the website and I don't I lost it. So we need to do that. So that's definitely. Then I think the idea of the video, trying to find somebody who can actually help with the learning design. Maybe they can even book an hour with them or something else, so they get the help, they pay for the help or whatever. But that they get this as a service, that would totally also make sense. So for people who don't know how to move on, so they get however much consultancy time they need. And then the third thing. Well, thank you for to be honest, thank you for sharing your knowledge and your time and your efforts and your brilliant ideas. I mean, that's when you're in a startup world where you're trying to build the plane while you're flying the plane while you're building it. The problem is that sometimes you can't see the forest for the trees. So thank you for pointing out some of the things that are obvious, but on the other hand, the stuff that you can't see simply because you're so stuck in it.
I know that feeling only all too well. So thank you for sharing not just that, but the two others as well. And to all of you out there listening in, thank you for being along for the ride. You've heard Hatla Jonsson and me, your host, Klaus Roster. Thank you for listening.